2024. And welcome all of you in the audience here this evening. Special welcome to our newly crowned Miss Thomasville, Hannah Welburn Lewis. Glad to have you with us tonight. We also welcome members of our city school board. We have Miss Nancy Staten, Miss Tiffany Baluka Brannon with us. And also we have Mr. Michael LeClaire. He's Executive Director of Testing and Accountability at the school system. So we'll welcome each one of you here this evening. We have one member of council that is absent tonight with an excused absence, and that is Neil Grimes. We also welcome any members of the press that might be here and those that are joining us on social media or on our website. Mr. City Manager, do we have any additions or deletions to our agenda this evening?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I do have some additions and some changes on our agenda, but before I do that, I do want to introduce one of the newest members of our staff. We have with us Doc, and Doc would like to come forward. Doc is a therapy dog that will reside in the fire department with Battalion Chief Waddell. He is a golden retriever, rescue golden retriever that has been in training for the last 2 months. He's about 5 months old right now, is that correct? He's been in training the last 2 months, and he was introduced to the public this past week and has been an immediate hit, as you can imagine. It's hard not to be when you're that cute. But he did extremely well with some children that saw him on Friday afternoon from our after-school camp that visited City Hall. He is mainly for rescue therapy to the emergency services, but is available to other employees as necessary. And with additional training, will become hopefully a educator also, going to schools and day camps and things of that sort to teach fire safety. So. Doc, you want to say a few words?
So cute.
Yeah, so we just wanted to bring him and introduce you because he's such a big hit. Yeah. Also, we are happy to announce that we have received the trailer for our program that we're going to be rolling out. Where we'll be able to lend tools. And I want to thank Chuck George and his staff, Randall and Josh, in code enforcement for taking on this project. And the trailer, hopefully you got a chance to see it outside. They'll be taking it off site here in a moment. But I just want to recognize them that they were here also. Okay, now to the agenda items that I need to add. Because we had discussions earlier this month about a Rains Road pump station bid that went out, and that bid came in much higher than expected. Staff, Morgan Huffman with the Public Utilities and Thomas Avant with our Finance Department went back to the drawing board with the Department of Environmental Quality and also with the Local Government Commission to seek additional funding from the state. And they were able to secure that much faster than we expected. So we are going to ask that you add 2 items to the agenda and restructure your agenda. We're going to add 6A, which is a consideration of resolution to accept a Clean Water State revolving loan offer and ARPA funding. And then item B will be, will go from A will become B, which is consideration of the 2024-2025 budget amendment. 2025-P6-01 has been amended, and you should have a copy of that in front of you. And then we're adding item C, consideration of capital project ordinance for Rains Road Pump Station Upgrade Capital Project, so we can start getting that in place. And then item B, that was item B, will become item D, which is consideration of amendment to contract for purchase and sale of property at 16 Trade Street. So those are my requested changes to your agenda.
Okay, having heard this, what's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended by our city manager.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any discussion? Okay. You may put in your vote. And we have 6-0, so it has been approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is public forum. The speaker that comes forward may speak for 2 minutes on any subject that they wish. And we have one to sign up this evening, and that is our Miss Thomasville, Hannah Welborn Lewis. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you for having me. Good evening. My name is Hannah Welborn Lewis, and I am Miss Thomasville 2025. I was part of the Miss Thomasville Star program when I was just 11 years old in 2009. I served as Miss Thomasville Teen in 2014, and I had the privilege of being crowned your 89th Miss Thomasville just this past October. From dancing at Everybody's Day Festival as a child to volunteering for the Baptist Children's Home as a teen, I'm ready to continue serving the Chair City through my service initiative called Waterworks. Waterworks serves as a movement to promote environmental education in our schools, to promote outdoor volunteerism in our communities, to fulfill the mission of protecting and celebrating our local waterways. I've already had the pleasure of teaming up with the Thomasville Beautification Committee for a chili, but awesome cleanup downtown in November, and I look forward to continuing removing litter that often ends up in our waterways through my year of service. Having worked with over 300 students in public education schools and cooperative extension programs, my goal is to enter as many Davidson County schools, particularly Title I, with my Waterworks education curriculum, enable children to appreciate when they turn on the faucet that they'll have clean water. As an alumnus of Western Carolina University and UNCG, I currently serve as an events and volunteer program manager for an environmental nonprofit, and I'm pursuing a certification in conservation at UNCG next spring. From recognizing the importance of drinking water infrastructure as our Western Carolina neighbors face Hurricane Helene, to advocating for Piedmont coastal areas who continue to feel the public health consequences of industrial contaminants such as PFAS and 1,4-dioxane, I believe environmental literacy is needed. One of my favorite quotes is that in the end, we only conserve what we love, we only love what we understand, and we only understand what we're taught. Whether people see me in my waders cleaning up a stream or in my crown speaking to kids as we search for storm drains, I'm honored to use this title to further my mission, and I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. We're now down to item number 4, public hearings. I'm going to ask our planning director if he would come forward and introduce these as they come up, A, B, and C.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight we have number A, or letter A, consideration amendment of Appendix A of zoning ordinance, add a temporary use permit for recreational vehicle, camper, and residential district. This here went before the planning board on November the 26th, and they found in favor of this request, of this amendment, 4-1. And basically this amendment will allow for people who are renovating their homes, a repair, fire, tornado, or disaster, or new construction, get a temporary permit, as well as the ones who have out-of-town guests. And we have a chart of the time limit to be allowed for this amendment. And it's listed under Exhibit A in your packet. And that is my request tonight for this to be approved.
Okay, thank you very much. I declare this public hearing open, and anyone that would like to come and speak in favor of this ordinance change, you may come forward. Not seeing anyone approach the podium, is there anyone that would like to speak against? Okay, I declare this public hearing closed, and I defer to council for action.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Appendix A of zoning ordinance change, temporary use permit for recreational vehicle, camper, and residential zoning districts Z-24-08.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Now, is there any discussion? Okay, you may record your votes. We have 6 votes in the affirmative, so that has been approved unanimously. Okay, we are now public hearing B.
This amendment is for Appendix A zoning ordinance, adding home occupation to permitted use to allow for a single operator dog grooming salon, which would be restricted to the primary resident, not be allowed in accessory structures on the property. This went before the planning board on the November 26th as well, and they found in favor of this 5-0. And tonight we'd like council to take this into consideration for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I declare this public hearing open, and anyone that would like to speak for this zone change, please approach the podium.
Hello, thank you for having me. I am Brittany Burns, a dog groomer of 15 years. I'm here today to request an amendment to the current zoning ordinance to allow me to operate a grooming studio in my home, which is an attached garage. When I groom, I work by appointments, and having the pets one-on-one ensures a calm and quiet atmosphere for me and the dogs that I work with. Because I groom one dog at a time, the impact on my neighborhood and those around me would be minimal. I believe a small-scale, appointment-only grooming service run from my home setting would align with the city's goals of supporting local and small businesses and would allow me to continue serving the people and pets in our town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would come forward and speak for? Okay, is there anyone that would speak against? Not seeing anyone approach, I declare the public hearing closed and defer to council for action on this item.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve this amendment to Appendix A of the zoning ordinance, adding home occupations to permitted uses to allow for a single operator dog grooming salon, Z-24-09.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, council, you may register your votes. Okay, we have 6-0, so that has been unanimously approved as well. Okay, we're down now to public hearing C. Mr. George.
This amendment is ordinance amendment for standard stormwater control measure, adding to chapter 87, section 18, line item G, development standard for high density projects. This ordinance is, I'll read what is the request here in the ordinance. Notwithstanding any within, to contrary, all wet ponds under this section shall be enclosed by fence, and fence shall be provided around the perimeter of all wet stormwater detention ponds located within the corporate limits and extraterritorial jurisdiction. The requirement of the fence may be no less than 4 feet in height and shall be steel or aluminum chain link fence with black or green vinyl coating, and all fence shall be provided in a provides securable entrance to allow access for maintenance personnel and equipment, and provide for safety of the citizen. So this here is requested by the planning board to just put around wet ponds, not your dry ones, for public safety is the main concern. They found in favor of this request 5-0. And would like the board to consider this amendment, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I call this public hearing open, and anyone that would speak in favor of this measure may come forward. And anyone that would speak against may come forward. Not seeing anyone, I declare the public hearing closed, and I defer to council for action.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the ordinance amending the standards for stormwater control measures, adding chapter 8718G, development standards for high density projects, Z-2410.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion second, any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Mr. George, just to for the purpose of educating the public. Am I correct in saying that this will only affect those wet ponds going forward? Any wet ponds already in existence would not be required to have a
Correct.
fence?
Even developments that's already been approved or in progress right now have been received, they will not be subject to this requirement here.
Thank you, sir.
Any more discussion or questions? Okay, you may record your vote. And I have 6 affirmative votes, so that has been approved as well. We're now down to our consent agenda, and there will be 3 of our staff that will be participating in this. And as your items come up, you can take those and present them. We'll start with our city manager, Mr. Brandt.
I get the easiest on the list. The consent agenda, item 5A, is consideration of approval of your minutes from the briefing meeting of November 11th. And item B is consideration of approval of minutes for your council meeting on November 18th, 2024.
Now, our city attorney, Ms. Whitman.
Yes, item C is consideration of a Title VI non-discrimination policy statement. We have always had a non-discrimination policy statement that covered race, color, national origin, sex, age, disability. This one also adds limited English proficiency as a protected class as well. Item D is consideration of resolution adopting a language access plan. And following that non-discrimination policy, we needed to adopt a plan to provide for folks that had limited English proficiency, and that's what that does. And then E, consideration of reasonable accommodation policy statement and procedure. If someone does request accommodation under this non-discrimination policy, this sets forth how they go about doing so and what happens if they do not receive the services that they need.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, our deputy city manager, Mr. Bowling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the items I bring forward is item F, consideration of revision of the fiscal policy. This was discussed extensively in our committee program as well as briefing. So the following revisions to the city's fiscal policies are requested. As we've achieved a significantly higher unassigned fund balance over the last 4 years, our intention is to further protect these reserves and enact a more responsible policy threshold for us, or for the use of unassigned fund balance to ensure adequate reserves for emergencies and future projects. Therefore, an item B1, operating budget policy, will be revised to increase the threshold for appropriations of fund balance for capital items from 24% to 50%. Fund balances as a percentage of the total general fund expenditures. Item F1 is a reserve policy, will be revised to state that the city will maintain at least a 50% unassigned fund balance instead of 24% to be used for unanticipated emergencies. Item F2 will also state that the city may appropriate unassigned fund balances for capital items if the 50%, not 24% threshold is achieved. I've also added a clause stating that while our intention and policy is to maintain the unassigned fund balance of 50%, the City Council reserves the right to appropriate unassigned fund balance for any purpose it deems appropriate or necessary. The 50% threshold serves as a guide, but ultimately council has the right to overrule that policy if the desperate need arises. Information was added by the city manager to item B3 to clarify the use of economic development reserve funding. Language was adding stating that economic development funds may only be allocated by the city council for infrastructure, water, sewer, streets, extensions to serve economic development priorities of the city. Funds may be allocated through the annual budget process or through adoption of project ordinances or other budget amendments. Items B4 and 5 is operating budget policy. We were added to include a 1 cent set aside in reserve for city street paving, maintenance and resurfacing projects, and 3 cent tax set aside and reserve to meet the debt service to the city of Thomasville's Aquatics and Community Center and fund parks and recreation projects deemed appropriate by council. Language is also added at item B8 regarding the policy not to fund requests from outside agencies providing health and human services to state such services, including but not are limited to food banks, homeless shelters, services, medical, nonprofits, veteran services, or similar organizations. These services are traditionally serviced and provided by the state and county nonprofit or religious organizations and are not eligible for direct city funding. Next item for consideration is item G, consideration of new electronic fund transfer policy. The electronic fund transfer policy outlines the accounting and control procedures under which any funds under the city are moved electronically for any purpose, direct deposit, transfer, withdrawal, or investment. This policy states that council has delegated the authority to the city manager to operate and administer the city's financial policies and controls in accordance with applicable laws and with the resolutions, regulations, and policies of the city, and to the finance officer the specific authority to perform banking transactions, manage the city's bank balances, and general oversight of electronic transfer activity, as well as to ensure appropriate accounting and control procedures are in place. This is our current process and has been for many years, and we are compliant with all necessary internal controls and regulations as evidenced by our annual financial statement. Next item is item H, consideration of a new investment policy. Again, this is no change to our current operational policies and practices. It is simply to outline an official investment policy stating that we are in conformance with all federal, state, and regulatory requirements concerning the investment of public funds. It outlines our primary objective in the order: safety, number 2, liquidity, and number 3, yield, which is the standard public fund investment strategy and best practice. This policy provides the critical internal controls that will ensure we meet future audit requirements and continue to effectively manage city funds. Item I is consideration of new conflict of interest policy. We do not have a formal conflict of interest policy currently. Code of Ethics for Mayor and Council was adopted in 2009, but no formal conflict of interest policy was for all employees. But this will be used going forward, as our auditors and grantors have mentioned this. Adoption of this policy also indicates a desire of management and council for all operations of the city to be undertaken in an ethical manner. Misty has reviewed and revised these policies accordingly. Next is, the last is item J, consideration of the 2025 City Council meeting date schedule, which is posted in your packet online and also in your hand. Those are the items to wrap up the consent agenda for the month of December.
Okay, thank you all, and I defer to council now for action on the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? You may record your vote. The vote is 6-0, so it has been approved unanimously. We're now down to our regular agenda. Item A is consideration of a resolution to accept Clean Water State Revolving Loan Offer and ARPA funding. Mr. City Manager.
Now you know why I didn't want to read the consent agenda. Item A is the added item to accept the loan offer of $3,698,845 and ARPA funding of $4 million for the construction of the Rains Road Pump Station upgrades and installation of approximately 4,800 linear feet of 16-inch force main.
Okay, what's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion, we approve the resolution to accept Clean Water State Revolving Loan Offer and ARP funding.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now, is there any discussion?
Michael, the ARPA money is a grant, right?
Yes, yes. The $4 million is a grant. 500,000 of the 368 million, $3,698,000 is also a forgivable loan. The rest of it will be paid back with actually no interest.
Well done, they got that super.
They got that very quickly. We were pleasantly surprised at how quick everyone wanted to work. And quite honestly, considering what has happened in our western state, we didn't think there would be funds available, but there were, so.
Okay, do you have any more discussion or questions? Okay, you may record your vote. And this has been approved 6-0. Item B is consideration of 2024-2025 budget amendment 2025-P6-01. Mr. City Manager.
This appropriates insurance proceeds for damage to 2 police vehicles. It appropriates funds from the North Carolina League of Municipalities grant for access control for Fire Station 23. It also appropriates funds from the coming sale of 16 Trade Street and 7 West Guilford Street for expansion of Pace Park and downtown streetscape enhancements. And it also appropriates funds from the utility fund retained earnings for the contribution to the water sewer capital project, which is the next item on our agenda, which relates back to the Range Road project.
Okay, thank you very much. Defer to council for action.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment 2025-P6-01.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Okay, you may record your vote. And this has been approved 6-0. Item C is consideration of capital project ordinance for the Range Road pump station and upgrade. And that's it. Okay. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you. This does feel like you're repeating yourself because this is now at least the third time we've mentioned it. This is the actual capital project ordinance by adoption that puts in place the funding necessary so that we can accept the bids next month for the Range Road project. This is a capital project ordinance that includes a total funding of $7,772,822. This includes the $4 million previously mentioned from the ARPA funds, the $500,000 loan principal forgiveness, and the $3,198,845 from the state revolving loan fund, and a local match of $73,977. That is the contribution from the city of Thomasville. So all of that makes up that project, and we'll be ready to roll hopefully in the next 60 days.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And what's the pleasure of council?
I'll move that we approve the grant project ordinance, capital project ordinance, Range Road, etc. $7 million.
We have a motion second. Any discussion?
Can you just run down real quick again, like what is the city putting in and what are we getting?
So we're receiving a total of $7,772,000 and change. Our local match is $73,977, plus we'll be paying back the $3 million, almost $3.2 million. But
No
we've
interest.
received $4.5 million. So more than half the project is being covered by state or federal monies.
That is awesome.
Yes, this will allow us to lift our moratoria on development on the north side, so that we can start having, that we know that there's a lot of pressure for residential development in that area. So we expect that to come on board fairly quickly.
That's great.
It's exciting that we've gotten to this point, because it's been something for several years that this council and the previous council have worked towards. So good work, all the staff that have helped us get here, and we can finally have some new development on that side.
Very exciting.
Any more discussion or questions? Okay, you may record your vote. Now. And that is 6-0, approved unanimously. We're now down to item D, consideration of amendment to contract for purchase and sale of property at 16 Trade Street. Ms. Whitman.
Yes, so if you will recall, earlier in October, we had approved a contract for the purchase or for the sale of 16 Trade Street. And under the terms of that contract, of course, there was a 10-day upset bid period. And once that bid period solidified, they had an inspection period, the buyer did, and then following the inspection period, they had 60 days to close. The inspection period was 90 days. With the holidays, they have had difficulty getting all of their inspections scheduled. So they requested to change the inspection period from 90 days to 180 days but to incorporate the closing period within that. So they anticipate actually closing as soon as the inspection period ends, but we did add a 10-day grace period after that just for purposes of getting paperwork done. So originally, the latest date that they could potentially close would have been March 19th. Under the new amendment, that would push it actually until April 28th if they utilize the 10 days grace period at the end. So that's the purpose of this amendment.
Okay, thank you very much. What's the pleasure of council?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, excuse me, that we approve the amendment to the contract for the purchase and sale of property at 16 Trade Street.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, a motion second. Any discussion? Hearing none, you may record your vote. 6-0, unanimous. Thank you very much. We're now down to committee reports and appointments, and we will start off with our Mayor Pro Tem, Scott Stires.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The clerk does have a copy of my activities for this month, and recognizing the reason for the season, I just want to wish everyone here and everyone in our corporate limits and beyond the very happiest of Christmases. Hope you get plenty of turkey, get a chance to take a nap after, and in the interest of peace on earth and goodwill toward men, that you refrain from talking about politics. Thank you.
Councilmember Doug Hunt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too would like to say a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody out here and everybody that's watching us and all of our citizens in Thomasville. Also, I would like to add I was privileged to go to the Army-Navy game this weekend, and of course, Navy prevailed as the big winner.
Boo.
Go Navy, beat Army.
Branch,
Navy.
thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Councilmember Lisa Shell.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I have submitted a copy of my activities report. I would also like to wish all of our staff, all of our employees, council, the citizens of Thomasville a very Merry Christmas, and I will be enjoying Universal Studios for Christmas.
Feed Mickey.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Hunter Thrift.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. There's a lot that's been going on in our city for the past couple months, and if I started to name it all, I'd leave something off, but you definitely cannot say there's nothing to do in Thomasville during the month of November and December. So it's great to go out and attend all the events that have been going on, that most of which are put on by volunteer committees. I do want to mention communities and schools have a drive-through pantry on Thursday. If you have children in the Thomasville City School District, please take advantage of that. We'll be giving out boxes of food. And then I have submitted a copy of my activities to the clerk, and I will let that stand as my report.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Peyton Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I have the privilege of being the last council member who put in their report to Wendy 4 minutes ago. So she has that in her hand now, right on time. We met Doc. He's perfect and beautiful, and I love him so much. He also has an incredibly important job, which I feel like is easy to forget, especially by me, because I look at him and I just want to cry. But he is there to support our first responders, our fire department. I know our police department will benefit, kids in our community. Chief shared some scary statistics about firefighter mental health in America. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you said that a firefighter is more likely to die by suicide than they are in the line of duty, which is really scary. And I just want to commend Chief and our department and our leadership for prioritizing mental health, because it's just super important. And we really need to do all we can to help the people who help keep us safe. So that's pretty cool. I also want to shout out the sanitation department. The holidays fall super weird this year in the middle of the week. So I know they're going to be putting in some weekend hours to make sure everybody gets their trash picked up and it doesn't get too behind. So think about them whenever you're hanging out with your family or taking some time. We have a ton of employees in the city and they all do a great job for all of us. So I'm very grateful. And I think that's it. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Okay.
And say hey to Doc if you see him.
Thank you.
Oh, good. I love him. Okay.
All right, Councilmember Jacquez Johnson.
Thank you so much, Mayor York. I have submitted a copy of my reports to our clerk. It was a very busy month. I got the opportunity in the month of November to be able to sub in for our mayor as Mayor Pro Tem, and we did a ribbon cutting for two amazing businesses here in the city, Cedar Lodge Hair Studio, as well as Gracious Glow Boutique. So we definitely want to welcome those two new businesses here to the great city of Thomasville, and we thank them for choosing Thomasville to be that place where they do business. We are very excited to remember the reason for the season this December. Let me get my dates right. And remembering that not only the Christmas season is a time for receiving, but it's also that time for giving and loving on your community. So definitely remember that when you're out and you're shopping, when you're out talking to people, just being a little bit kinder in this time it goes a long way. I will let that stand as my report. Have a very happy New Year's.
Thank you very much. As Councilmember Johnson just stated, he filled in for me last month as conductor of the meeting, as well as the ribbon cuttings. I appreciate you doing that. Great job. The reason I was not here is that my wife has been quite ill for several months, and we just found out about a month ago what her issue is. And so I was with her most of the last month in treatment and a 3-week hospital visit. But I'm glad to report that she is doing very well now, and she's recovering. So hopefully that continues, and appreciate all the prayers of all of our staff, all the people that I know, friends and neighbors, and just everybody, and the outpouring of love that I felt and we have felt through this time. We just appreciate all that so much. And but I did manage to get 2 things in this month. I attended the elected officials Christmas social last Thursday. That's when all of our elected officials in Davidson County, and we also include High Point because High Point has part of their city in Davidson County. So we include them. We had about 65 or 70 people there. It was a real good evening, and we appreciate the close working relationship that we have with our county neighbors. So that was a good evening. And then I sort of chickened out on the on the Christmas parade. I was scheduled to ride in an open air truck, but it was a little bit too chilly, so I got in the ladder that had a heater in it. And but it was a great parade. A lot of people there and a lot of enthusiasm, and it's so good to see our citizens come out and enjoy a day like that. And again, I'll also wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a very prosperous New Year. So that's the end of my report. So we'll go now to our city manager, Michael Brandt.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't belabor it, but obviously I hope everyone has a good holiday season, whichever holiday you are celebrating, as your choice may be. I do want to extend my appreciation to local resident Eric Koppel with he volunteers with Keep Davidson County Beautiful, and he and a group of volunteers go out and specifically target Baptist Children's Home, but do other streets in our jurisdiction. Eddie and I found out that they were out on their last Thursday, I believe it was, Wednesday or Thursday, whenever it was the coldest day last week. We went out and visited with them briefly, brought them some coffee so they could literally warm their hands, just dipping their hand into the coffee. It was a good reminder that people are volunteering both with the city directly and also through their own organizations. And if you ever want to do a litter sweep, they Keep Davidson County Beautiful is where you can go to get information, and they'll help you set up everything. And we really appreciate the fact that they do it on a regular basis. And please, the best way to keep it beautiful is not to throw it away outside your car. We have trash cans. Use them, please. Also, I want to thank the staff that worked to make the Christmas parade such a success. The police officers have to be out there early, blocking the road. They have to deal with individuals who know no other way to get through a road other than the road that they take every single day. or the moms that need to drop off someone for a parade float, or the gentleman that needs to get to pick up his tractor trailer, or whatever it may be. They have to end up enduring some of those folks, and they are very professional about it, and I appreciate that. Also, of course, the volunteers that actually run the parade. 2 members of this council were there volunteering that I know of. There may have been more that I didn't see. All the parade itself is sponsored by the Tourism Commission, and so they were out in force keeping things going. And then, of course, at the end of the parade, our sanitation crews that came in on a Saturday to make sure that the downtown looked very clean afterwards. And we actually had one of our local businesses, gentleman came and stopped by City Hall today to tell me how good a job they do and how quickly. He runs one of the event centers downtown, and he had an event later that afternoon and was concerned about how clean it would be and whether the no parking signs were down and all that stuff. And while he did take care of the no parking signs, which was fine, the event was over. So, but he wanted to make sure that we knew how good they did a job cleaning up, and I appreciate the work that they do. As already mentioned, they're going to be working the Saturday after Christmas, so keep them in mind when you're putting your boxes out there, that you break down your boxes and try to keep it as neat as possible to allow them to finish up as quickly as possible. Other than that, I just hope everyone has a great holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our city attorney, Misty Whitman.
Good evening again. I was a little bit saddened that I did not get to attend the Christmas parade, but I've heard lots of information, and a lot of times we only focus on negative information that we hear, but I overwhelmingly heard positive information, so I would like to thank everybody who participated in that as well. It has been an extremely busy December for our office, as it typically is year-end information. Things have deadlines and things have to be done. So buckle up, because January is going to be busy. But I hope everyone has a safe and happy New Year, and I encourage everyone to please be safe and be responsible over New Year as well.
Thank you very much. Our Deputy City Manager, Eddie Bowling.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. I would like to recognize that I'm actually excited that they're still here. They hung around long enough to get this recognition. But Josh Parks and Randall Markham, in keeping with what Michael said, these two are the ones behind the scenes making sure Thomasville is beautiful. They're the minimum housing code inspectors, so they don't get the luxury of, they take a beating every day in our community. Folks don't typically like someone coming on their property and telling them what they can and can't do. And Michael and I were just discussing today what a great job both of them do, and how nice it is and refreshing that we're not getting phone calls every other day, which tells us that they're not only managing the issues within our community, but they're doing it very politely and managing it well. And so, and secondarily, you saw the trailer. These two folks have stepped up, in addition to the Planning and Community Development Department with Chuck George, to manage this new free tool rental program. And so we're excited for someone to have such buy-in for a program, and I think they see the value in it in our community, that folks are going to be able to clean up their own property, even if they don't have the tools necessary to do it. They can come lend them from us. So thank both of you for the work that you do each and every day, and thank you for leading the charge in this program. And then Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We're now down to additional items, and I do have one additional item. I have a nice bag here, you can see. We have a group from our city here. It's headed up by Robert Gilmore. He's a resident of Whitsett. But the group is a group of graduates of 1973 Thomasville High School. And for the last several years, they have put together these bags for our homeless people around town. They've extended this out into the county and to Lexington. But a few years back, one of his members, they would do 100 bags or so. One of his members challenged the group to do 300 bags. And they did the 300 bags, and shortly after that member passed away. He told me, he called me this year, and he said, you know, that 300 bags was their goal. And they placed boxes in different places here in town and other places. And this year they prepared 482 bags. And I won't take everything out, but a nice blanket here. There's some personal items in here, some toiletries and things. But it's a nice bag of things that these people need. And I think that group is doing a lot for our city. And like I said, some of them don't live here anymore, but they still care about Thomasville. So I just wanted to bring that to you and tell you this, one of the good things that's happening here in our city. Now, are there any other additional items to come before council this evening? Okay, we're down to adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. We're adjourned.
Just a fun fact for you young folks over there. Class of 1973 at Thomasville High School was the first freshman class to ever attend Thomasville High School.
Really? Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
For your tree.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you, Faith.
Thank you, ma'am.